Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to January's ATTW. We'll go ahead and get started. We have today with us the HMIS team. We have Sam, our manager, Frankie and Laura and Brandy and Allie, who are our program specialists, and I am Stephanie, the HMIS team lead. So our agenda today will be um, reviewing the HIP pick and that process as far as um, submitting the reports to us and verifying your data. So we'll just do an overview of what we're asking agencies to do, and then we'll go over a schedule of upcoming actions, and then we will go over some details and frequently asked questions. And then just some webinar reminders to share any relevant information with appropriate staff at your agency. Ask questions using the Q&A function. And attendance is collected by survey completion at the end of this session. And then webinar recording and notes will be sent out by Monday, February 2nd. And then the deadline to complete the webinar or the video and quiz would be January 6th. Okay, so just an overview of what we're asking agencies to submit to us. This is for Balance of State and Maricopa. So we're asking agencies to run the reports for these types of programs. So permanent housing, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, other permanent housing, emergency shelter, transitional housing, and safe haven. So we would need agencies to verify the information about those projects and verify the bed and unit inventory for the projects that are impacted by the HIP pick, and then verify the client served on the night of the point in time. And then here's the schedule of actions. So starting today, the HMIS team will send each agency's primary contact a list of projects that must be verified. So you'll receive that from one of the team members that is assigned to your agency. We will send you the list and instructions on how to run the reports, how to correct the data, and so forth. Um, and so from today until through February 13th, agencies will verify their data using the correct report for each project. Also, after verifying the data, you will run the reports one final time, now showing the updated and corrected information. And then you will send those verified reports to the HMIS team or your HMIS team point of contact. And then February 13th is the deadline to send us the verified reports or send it to your HMIS team point of contact. And then from February 13th through the 20th, the team will work with selected projects on any additional follow-up that's needed. Sam, you want to go ahead and take over?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and so this process is pretty familiar to last year as well. So hopefully if you've been in HMIS or did this last year, this should all be very familiar. They haven't actually updated the PIT HIC notice since like November of 2023. So the reports are generally the same. There's no new information, so it should be pretty consistent. If you are new, we do have training videos in this as well. But please, 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 go ahead and contact us as much as possible, especially if this is your first time and you're just trying to figure it out, because it can be a lot on the first go. But as for which projects we'll be verifying, so the HMIS team, each of us has a different set of projects we'll be working, or different set of agencies we'll be working with, and we'll send a list of projects that we need to verify to the agency's primary point of contact. There's two reports that need to be run. One is the 0628, and this is for permanent housing projects. So that's that rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and other permanent housing projects. And the 630 is for those shelters, so emergency shelter, transitional housing, and safe haven projects, as we'll be verifying with the 0630. Both reports run very similarly. They're the same prompts. It just one is designated for permanent housing projects, because with the permanent housing projects, a permanent housing, where we're looking for the count of clients who were housed on the night. And whereas the shelter, transitional housing, and safe haven, we're looking for the count of clients who were served. Uh, all the reports in business objects are already pre-defaulted with the right dates in the background. All you have to select is the actual provider itself. But for Maricopa, we are verifying, just for information, client stays from the night of the 26th through the morning of the 27th. And for balance of state, we're verifying stays from the night of the 27th through the morning of the 28th. These reports are all available now in both Maricopa as well as balance of state. So just some more information about these reports. There's multiple tabs, so the PIT-HIC does require and ask for a lot of information. For the HIC purposes, for verifying this, we're really focusing on provider information. So this is address information, project type. So are you a shelter? Are you transitional housing? We have the project type set already in the system, so that should be correct. But if you run a report and it says that your project is a rapid rehousing project, but it's actually a permanent supportive housing project, that's definitely something that we need to know and want to know so we can correct. In addition to the basic provider information, we're verifying bed information. So how many beds you can serve on the night of the night of the PIT. For some projects, this is easier than others. So if you're a shelter that has 20 beds in a room, then it's easy to say you have 20 beds. For rapid rehousing projects or other projects that might be scattered site, or like PSH projects, we'll usually determine the bed count for you. The guidance we've been given from HUD in the past is for rapid rehousing projects, however many clients you happen to house on that night is how many beds you count for the HIC. So for rapid projects, you're really going to focus on that provider information and verifying your client counts, but the bed information will be easier for those projects. And then the final bullet point here is the client count, so the number of people enrolled on the night of the PIT. Again, there's a distinction here for housing projects is how many clients were housed on the night of the PIT. And for shelters, safe havens, and transitional housing projects, it's how many clients were served on the night of the PIT. The reports themselves make that distinction as well and explains that a little bit too. Just as a note, if you are making corrections, you're going to run a report. You might see that a client is missing, or there might be some clients that haven't been exited but have left the program a couple of months ago. When you make those corrections, you'll have to wait 24 hours for the report to update. That's because SAP or Business Objects, the reporting platform, doesn't update changes until about midnight or 1 a.m. every day. I don't recommend staying up until 1 a.m. unless you're really passionate about HIC PIT reporting. So I just wanted you to be aware that when you make those changes, wait until the next day to run that report. And then what it says, what do agencies do if the client counts are incorrect? Just correct the information in HMIS or in community services, the actual software itself. If you have any questions, you can submit a ticket to the help desk. You can also email directly with the person who's sending the list of the list of projects you're verifying. So to my agency, I'll send a list of projects. If they have questions, you can use the help desk, which is a normal process. But for the PIT-HIC, you can also just email me back directly if I'm working with you for that technical assistance. And just a couple of additional reminders about the deadlines here. So the goal is rerun the reports until the client counts are correct. This is specifically the number of clients served for shelters, transitional housing, and safe haven projects. And for housing projects like PSH and rapid rehousing and OPH, we want the number of clients who are housed on the night of the PIT to be correct. Again, a plug that it takes 24 hours for these updates to show up in SAP. So please, please, please remember that if you make corrections in community services, wait until the next day to rerun that to see if the report's showing correctly. After the reports are complete and they look accurate, those client counts specifically, you have a couple of options. For me, I'm telling agencies to send them directly back to me. If I'm working with you as an agency, just send it back to me. I think most of the people on the team, Stephanie, Frankie, Laura, Allie, and Brandy, have a similar preference, but you are also more than welcome to send it to the HMIS help desk or through the ticketing portal, and we'll definitely navigate that. So whatever is most comfortable, but you'll eventually be routed to the right person who's been working with your agency throughout the process. At that point, we will do a final validation. Sometimes we get numbers that are wacky. I've had reports submitted before that were literally blank for products that I am absolutely certain had more than 0 clients started the night. And those kind of mistakes happen sometimes. Our deadline for these reports is February 13th, but please just communicate with us. We've already had one agency communicate that their primary point of contact will be out of town until about mid-February. So we're just going to extend their situation or their deadline just because of that communication. So we understand that sometimes cleanup is a little more difficult than we expect. There's turnover, there's new staff, there's training, all sorts of things. So February 13th would be like the gold standard. But by all means, as long as you're communicating with us, we can definitely make sure that we're working with you and supporting you to get it submitted as soon as is reasonable.
Sam, we did have a question here in the
Yeah.
chat. That's asked, it counts the clients with a move-in date for rapid rehousing, correct?
Yes, correct. And then starting February 13th, if we haven't heard anything before that regarding needing extensions or additional time or any troubles with the reports, the HMIS team will follow up with any additional questions or requests for reports. So at this point, I'll run a demo of the report. Again, this should be pretty familiar. In the emails that we send out to users as well, there'll be a video training about the same thing here. So, but there are 2 ways to run a report. So I'll steal the screen share, Stephanie. Okay, perfect. And you should be seeing community services, the Balance Estate site. We'll get Frankie is going to give me a thumbs up, maybe.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So there's 2 ways to run the report. Really important for Balance Estate users. Balance Estate and Maricopa take different approaches to the business objects license, which you can connect to right in the upper right here. If you're in Balance Estate and you need to verify reports and you go to community services and you don't have this button available, please let us know as soon as possible or submit a ticket. We can get you that access temporarily to make sure that you can run those reports. This will only be an issue for Balance Estate users possibly. All Maricopa users do have this license already. But I'm in the Arizona site or the Balance Estate site right now. I'll click Connect to Business Objects. And I'll also go to the Maricopa site. You'll notice there's different themes. So if you ever want to have fun with business objects, there's a light and a dark theme. There might be like a third one. So mine's all like blue right here. But to get the report itself, you'll click on Folders. You'll click on Public Folders. And then you'll only see one. I see both just because I have access to both sites. But for Balance Estate users, you'll click on Arizona Department of Housing Live folder. And we'll be going under the Federal Reports folder here. We're looking at the HIC PIT. So we'll click on that HIC PIT. And there's the 2 reports there, the one for the 628, and it mentions at the end exactly which project types that is. So for the 628 is for those housing projects, PSH, Rapid, and OPH. And that 630 is labeled at the end for those shelters, safe haven, and transitional housing projects. There's 2 ways to run the reports. One is to run it in the software itself, and one is to what we call scheduling it. In this case, I'll run it in the software itself. This is fine for Balance Estate. For Maricopa users, there's a lot more data in the system, so these reports are a lot slower. So it might be easier for Maricopa users to use to schedule. But as we're in Balance Estate, I'll go ahead and just click on the report itself, and a new screen will pop up will show up. And so everything is defaulted. All the dates, the PIT dates, all that important stuff is hard-coded in the background. All you have to select is the provider here. You don't have to touch the EDA provider. Don't touch the effective date. All you have to do is select the provider. Now, as a note, you can only run this 1 provider at a time. So if you have 10 providers to verify, you would be running this report 10 times. For some agencies, you have 1 or 2 projects. This is pretty easy. For some of our bigger agencies, it is like 20 or 25 reports. And so I empathize that is a lot of work, but unfortunately it can only be run 1 at a time. I'm going to select this default here. I'm not going to use an actual agency for this training. We'll just go through the report, but I don't want to share anyone's numbers without their prior knowledge or approval. So we'll run this. And the Balance Estate side is pretty quick. But if you're actually in the software itself, there's all these tabs up top, and we'll just go through them one by one. So at the top, there's a video walkthrough, which is basically what I'm doing right now, but it's nice to have this as a resource or something to go to. And this first page goes through the instructions, which basically boils down to move through these tabs left to right and go ahead and make sure the client counts are correct and then verify additional information. So, but the most important thing in the report itself is we want the client counts to be correct. So I'll move to the second tab here. And so let's verify the number of clients served for the night of 1/27/2026. This is for Balance Estate. Maricopa will be labeled a little differently. And you'll actually see your provider name here and how many clients were served. So if I see, for example, that there were 100 clients in households, in family households, and I actually served 150, that says to me, there's a mistake. Why is this report only showing 100 clients instead of 150? We do provide a way to audit this information, which is the next tab, the client served audit. And this will list every client that the report thinks is part of your project. So you can look at this, you can download it and say, okay, I see 100 clients, but these 50 clients that moved in December are not present. Why is that? And at this point, you'd be going into community services, looking at data, auditing updates and so forth, and correcting the information. After going back and forth and cleaning up data, you'd run that report the next day, and then you go back to verify clients served. Ideally, the next day, the numbers are perfect, everything is fantastic. In some cases, realistically, you're going to go back and see it shows 120 clients were served. It's really 150. Again, I got to do this cleanup, and then it'd be, again, the same process, cleaning up data, rerunning the report the next day. But this is where I'd focus all my effort on at first until all the client counts are actually correct. But once you get to that day where you run the report and the client served is correct, you can now go ahead and verify the provider information. So this is more straightforward. This is address information, city, product zip, and some program information as well. We're not asking you to correct this information in the software itself. When you submit the report, you can just let us know in an email saying, hey, this information is incorrect. Please go ahead and update it. There's a second page here as well, which is not always easy to get to, but at the bottom, if you click next, this just goes over the funder, the funding information, if you're receiving a federal funding or local funding. Just for reference, there is a federal grants type tab as well. So you can see which types of grants are out there, and you can see if, it just helps with reference and sort of determining what type of funding your project may receive, or if you don't recall the exact funding source off the top of your head. And then the final tab here is going to be verify bed availability. Again, this is not something you can update directly in the software like you can with the client records. So just make a note of it. If this says that you have 100 beds at your project, but you only have 90, you'll just let us know via email. I'm not sure, did I see any questions or Q&As pop up? So once this report looks good,
There actually was a question in the webinar chat from Patricia Campos. A question. So everyone we do a survey on, we have to put it in HMIS, even if we don't do VSPDAT?
Yes. So anyone that you've entered into HMIS for tracking for if it's a shelter, a safe haven, a transitional housing project, or permanent housing, if you're using HMIS, you're entering the client in HMIS to record that they've been served at your project. Now, definitely, there's lots of situations where a client might be at your shelter and they have not received a VI SPDAT. That is A-OK. In this process, we're just verifying that they have been served somewhere in the state, in Balance Estate or Maricopa. The important thing is that the clients, have been served, and we just want to show exactly the work that the community and the shelters and housing products are doing throughout the state. So that VI SPDAT isn't really important here. This report will just pull every client that is in HMIS that you served, regardless of their, status on the BNL or prioritization or the VI SPDAT. If that answers the question, please let me know. If not, somebody in the team, please just interrupt me so we can go ahead and make sure that we get that answered properly. So back to this report. Let's say that I've run the report again, and the report now has the correct information. I just want to submit this PDF with the correct client counts in addition to any information that needs to be corrected. So if you're actually working in Business Objects itself, there's this arrow in the top left. If you click it, you'll select all reports at the top, so everything is checked. And to the left, you'll select PDF. All right, perfect. So we'll go again to do the export. We'll do all reports, the PDF, and then we'll export here. And this will go straight to your downloads. And so you can take that, and it is helpful to name it something like useful and identifiable, but we figured it out. And just an example, exactly what I mean. So when I'm done, I'll pretend I'm working with myself to verify information. PITHIC final reports, and it's just sending an email with that information. So what we're asking is that we go ahead and attach the reports. I'm just trying to get it from my downloads. I'm going to rename it. You can't see this part, but just rename it with a pretend provider number. So I'd attach this report and just say, hello, I've attached I'm just saying, hello, I've attached the final HitPick report for my shelter. The count of clients is accurate. And this is the point you would actually request additional changes. So I'm going to say, please make some additional changes. Do the provider information. This would be like address. So I could say, correct your address. Let's say 50 beds, not 20. And I could also say, oh, that's not even an address. So I could say correct beds, 50, and then correct the address is, the new address is 123 Pitt Street. And this is all we're asking for. You're more than welcome, if you have 10 projects, go ahead and attach all 10 projects to a single email and just indicate the changes for each one. So project 3, I would do the changes are the address. I don't know why I want project 3 here. Not using any sort of number system. I'll go project ABC to make it more confusing. And then you would do corrections, correct, I don't know, the project type. This is actually a TH project, not a safe haven. But essentially, you just want to go ahead and advertise and let the HMIS team know that the reports with the client counts, the number served or housed, depending on your project type, is correct, and that everything else that needs to be fixed, the provider information, addresses, project type, beds, and so forth, just you put that in the body of the email itself, or a ticket if you so choose, and that way we can go and correct that on our end. So I'll minus this here. I'll show the other way to go and run a report that's scheduling instead of running it in SAP itself. But before I do that, I'll just pause real quick to see if there's any other questions. Password here. All right, and so now we're in the Maricopa County site. So everyone in Maricopa County will have this connect to business objects button here. So I'll click here. And if you ever see this error, actually, this is good to know, especially if you're if you have an account on both Ballast Estate and Maricopa, you can just exit that and try again, and it'll usually refresh the connection. So that's a nice little tip. As you can see, this is a dark themed business object. So if you're up until 1 a.m. running PITHIC reports, you know, some fun with the visuals and see which one your eyes like better. In terms of navigating to the report itself, it is the same. So for Maricopa users, you'll go to folders. You'll go to public folders. You'll go to Arizona Live instead of the Department of Housing. And again, it's going to be under this fellow reports folder here. And again, under the HICPIT folder here. The reports are named the same, identically, and they function identically as well. The only difference being that the Maricopa reports look from the night of the 26th to the morning of 27th, and Ballast Estate is from the night of 27th to the morning of the 28th. Now, for Maricopa users, it can be useful, especially if you have a lot of projects to schedule these instead. So instead of clicking on the name itself, I'll go all the way to the right, and I'll click on these three little dots, and I'll click schedule. And then you can put a title. It's really helpful here to distinguish which provider is which by adding that information there. There's a lot of options on both this tab and the next tab I go to. None of them are important. You just want to make sure the title is a title that makes sense. Then we'll go to report features. And then you'll want to change the format to something else. So for the final format, I'll do Adobe Acrobat for that PDF. And something failed with the parameters. Well, this is terrible timing for a training. So let's go ahead and go back and retry that. So again, naming that project, the report itself with something sensible is really helpful. Okay, so the prompts are here. So I don't know what the error was, but looks like we got it resolved. So there's three really important things: a sensible name, making the format into Adobe Acrobat or a PDF, and this is for the final submission, and then adding the provider here. So all you do is click this edit prompt values. I can take a moment to pop up sometimes, but while you wait for that pop up, here it goes. The EDA provider and enter effective date are already defaulted, so nothing to change there. For provider, we're just going to select the provider that we are trying to verify for this particular report. I'll select this one here so it doesn't apply any data. And once that's all complete, you'll click schedule on the bottom right. And you will see it scheduling here. Now, the nice thing about this method is that if you schedule it, I can leave business objects. I can log out. I can walk away and take a lunch or something of that sort. I can schedule 15 reports and come back half an hour later. If I go back, I'll just go back to connected business objects. And there's a section down here under recently run, which I'll see those reports. This one hasn't finished running because I've only been away for about 10 seconds. But when it is complete, you'll see a green check mark. And then at that point, you can just download the report by clicking on the report itself. So that is the other way to run the report. Otherwise, the verifying the information, looking through the report itself is exactly the same. I have one more comment after this, but that is how to run the reports. Any other questions, anything we should show again while we have everyone on the call?
Aren't any questions right now?
Okay. The other thing that I think we forgot to add to the slides is that this year we'll also send a survey after your agency has completed finalizing their PIT-HIC reports. So once your agency submitted their final report, we'll send a survey just asking about the process, what you liked, what you didn't like, and so forth. We tried to do this last year, but we just didn't get our ducks in a row. So you'll be expecting that this year. And I see a question from Bob. You can run the reports today from Maricopa. They're available, and you can definitely go ahead and do that as soon as this call ends. And we know this is a lot of work, especially for every agency, especially if you're new to it. For agencies with like 55 projects, it's a slight exaggeration, but not quite for a couple of you out there. We really appreciate the time. We know this is an extra piece of work. So when you get that survey at the end of the process as well, really would appreciate your feedback to see how we can make this process even better next year. We have not sent the emails to the POCs yet. I'm going to blast out. I have them all prepped and drafted actually. So I'm going to send them all out like 5 minutes after this. So you should be seeing those this afternoon if you have not received it already this morning.
Okay, I don't see any more questions, so we will go ahead and conclude the webinar. Again, when you guys exit, there'll be a survey. Please go ahead and complete that for us to count your attendance. But if you don't have any other questions, I think we'll probably hang around for a minute or so just to make sure there isn't any other follow-up. But thank you all. Have a great rest of your afternoon.